Hello there guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Now today's video is going to be going over my thoughts of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. This means that there will be potential spoilers for the story, so if you haven't finished the game yet or you're having to wait to play it, then I would advise turning off the game now. So as I said, this is going to be a bit of a review of the game because I've finished the story. But before going into this one, guys, if you do enjoy the video, then be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on any more of my content. So in this review, guys, I'm going to be going through a few different categories about the game itself, starting off with the story, then I'll be moving into some of the characters, the customization and the planets we see within the game, and then I'll do the gameplay mechanics to finish up. And once again, this video does contain spoilers potentially, so click off now if you don't want it to be spoiled. So as I said, guys, I'm going to be starting off with the story. In short, I really enjoyed it from start to finish, and it just genuinely felt like a true Star Wars epic that I wanted to keep on playing and learning more and more about. There were certainly times towards the end of the story where things did get a little bit predictable, but nonetheless that never really bothered me in all honesty. I was just so engaged with the story as it was that for me it didn't really bother me that they destroyed the holocron in the end. Of course it kind of makes sense obviously with the canon, so it all ties in really well, but of course that is where the predictability lies, so I can see why some people were frustrated with that, but for me personally that never really bothered me. That being said though, the story left off in a place where I felt it could easily lead to a sequel, so if we don't ever see that, I'm going to be disappointed really, because at the end Cal says, "So where to next?" Which, okay, it doesn't mean that there has to be another game, but it just genuinely feels like the story isn't yet finished, which we could get into a situation where Sia teaches Cal in the ways of the Force, even deeper than he already knows, which could really make for some interesting game mechanics in the next game. And I also feel like the relationship between Sia and Cal seems really new still, and it would be interesting to see if we can see that develop further down the line. And obviously if Sia ends up teaching Cal, then he can learn some new abilities, which in a second game would make it really interesting. Night Sister Merrin as well also joined the Mantis very shortly before the story ended, so again I feel like her part is still very fresh and very new, so I feel like if we saw a second game she could have a bigger part to play, and I feel like Merrin and Sia could come out and aid you on missions, as well as BD1 of course, so I feel like Sia's experience and Merrin's magic from the Night Sisters could really make a second game interesting in fights against large groups of people or potentially bigger bosses. Moving on to some of the characters, I'm going to start off with Cal Kestis obviously being the main character. So I really enjoyed Cal as a character as well. I feel like seeing him when he was younger through Order 66 was an amazing experience, and to obviously play through that level as well was actually one of my highlights for the game. And seeing how far he's come since then and playing through the story and seeing how he develops as a person and as a Jedi was amazing. And I thought his personality was actually really great as well for the overall story. Like, despite all things seeming lost or being dark, he was always confident, light-hearted, and kind of fun and friendly. So it was kind of that guy you almost want as a friend, really. So having that sort of character being the main player, it really deepens the connection, which I really enjoyed. Moving on to Sia as well, I really liked how she was once a Jedi, and we kind of do get to see that through the eyes of Trilla, and seeing the difficult circumstances she was in and how she taps into the dark side was amazing. You can see the conflict within her, which I think is really great. And as the story goes on, you know, obviously she develops really nicely, eventually picking up that lightsaber once again and wielding it in combat I thought was great to see. Briefly talking about Grease as well, obviously the pilot of the Stinger Mantis, I thought he was an amazing supporting character and definitely one of the funniest characters within the whole game. Now I really liked how he almost had like a gambling past as well, and that obviously meant that the Haxian brood members were always on your tail, and obviously they present like nice little bosses from time to time as well when you finish the story, which is actually something I'm really happy about. So Grease having that sort of past was really nice, and it really fleshed out his character a bit, which I thought fit really nicely into the game. Now I'm surprised I haven't spoken about him already, but of course BD1, like, he's the most adorable droid in the whole of Star Wars, and I kind of want one for myself, to be honest. I honestly loved him, really. He's got to be one of my favourite characters in the whole game, and all he does is beep, but the personality he has, the way he'll run around and scan things for you with the exploration, the way he acts as well when you first kind of meet him and he like jumps onto your leg. It's almost like a dog, and it's just amazing. It's adorable. So if we get a second game as well, I'd love to see some more BD1, because he's got to be a standout for me, honestly. Now, of course, a game like Jedi Fallen Order is not complete without an evil villain. Now, this was obviously the second sister, which I wish we kind of saw a little bit more about her, to be honest. I think it was great when she was in the game, and I think she was an amazing character. And later in the story, you could really sense the pain she went through, and it was nice to know a bit more about her backstory and how Sia betrayed her and all that stuff. I thought that dynamic was really, really good. Her overall character design was great. I think she looked amazing and sounded amazing as well. And I won't go into too many of the other characters, but I've got to say, I really enjoyed everyone in the story, really. I felt like the performances that the actors put into each character was spot on. People like Taron Malicos as well, but particularly interested me as well, and it was awesome to see a Jedi become so corrupt in wanting to learn the dark magic of the Night Sisters. And Merrin, of course, as well, however short she was in the game, for me was a great addition and someone I'd love to learn some more about. Onto the customization within Fallen Order now. I think it was absolutely fantastic. Having all the different poncho choices, BD1 skins, the Stinger Mantis skins are great, and I love searching for the chests in the games to find these cosmetics within the open world environment. Now, the biggest customization piece I'm extremely happy with is, of course, lightsaber customization. I think everyone can agree that the amount of different options available to you is insane, and I love how you can change the materials to things like Haitian smelt, bronzium, dolomite, and all these other things that just really kind of, for me, put me into the Star Wars universe. Really, it's really immersive for me, and you really get a sense that your lightsaber could very well be unique to you out of all the other players out there, which I think is amazing. Now, if you do have Twitter or are in my Discord server, then it would be great if you could share your lightsabers with me on Twitter. I'll definitely retweet some of my favourites as well, so definitely tag me in that. Now I'm going to go on to the planets really briefly as well. So I'm happy with the amount we had in the game, because as many of you may well know, I was a bit worried that we'd only have the 5 in the game initially, which I'm happy that we got to see more. You know, I just kind of wish that post-story we could have been able to explore a couple more, maybe just things like Bracca, for example. In the initial trailer we saw a cantina style location and what was, I imagine, the streets of Bracca, so being able to explore that would have been great, to kind of have an urban environment like that and something so different and unique. It would be great. And if we could have learned more about the Scrapper Guild and the Imperial occupation of the planet, that would have been great. But that's not to say I'm not happy with what we do have, because being able to explore Kashyyyk, Zepho, Dathomir, Ilum and Bogano is really, really fun, and I'm happy that we get to explore at least 5 posts of the story. It just would have been nice to be able to explore Bracca and maybe some other places, perhaps like the Inquisitorius Fortress perhaps. But either way, pretty happy with how things are with the planets. So that was talking a little bit more about the overall story and what's in the game, but now I'm going to go on to some of the combat mechanics and just other gameplay features. So obviously starting off with the combat, I was definitely expecting a challenge, but it was harder than I anticipated, that's for sure. But for me that's good, and as a gamer I want to be challenged like this, and for me it certainly did that. And I definitely feel like over the few days I've been playing, I have definitely got better, and even things on Battlefront 2 I've actually improved on that since I've been playing Fallen Order as well, which is really nice to see. But defeating Purge Troopers or even perfectly timing a block against Stormtroopers always makes me feel good and made me feel powerful as well. Boss battles were extremely challenging as well, which again is exactly what I wanted. Each boss had a totally unique playstyle to them, and I found myself dying an awful lot of times. But for me that was amazing. It was great to learn how every boss played out with their playstyle and how I could adapt to that and counter them either way. So for me the combat was incredible. I'm really happy with how they played it out. Now we've obviously got some other gameplay mechanics, which obviously a big one for this was the platforming within the game. I wasn't expecting to enjoy this as much as I did, but it was actually a lot of fun, and it really put me in the boots of being a Jedi, and I think it just fit into the game really nicely. Obviously Cal's slow ability really helped with certain elements as well, which is great. But running along walls, double jumping and pulling ropes towards you, sort of all those other things, really felt satisfying, and as if I was actually a Jedi like in that experience, which is exactly what I wanted from this game. So yeah, really happy with platforming, and it was better than I expected, to be honest. Now we've obviously got some other things as well, like the puzzle solving, which again I don't really go into puzzle games that much, so I wasn't expecting to enjoy it that much, but they were really challenging from time to time actually. So for me, as someone who doesn't really play them, that's where the challenge really lied. But for me, they were fun and really intriguing parts of the game, and obviously fit in very nicely with how the story played out and the overall style that the game was in. Overall though guys, I've got to say Fallen Order for me was definitely a 9 out of 10. The game for me personally was everything I wanted it to be and even more. I was really skeptical at first about how big the game was, but in terms of the story it was kind of short and predictable in a way, but I absolutely adored the story, and to be fair I played the game for like 15 to 18 hours over one weekend, so that's kind of why I got through it quickly. But I'm really happy with the game, honestly. I still want to keep going back and replaying the story even now after completing the story a few days ago. I just want to go back, play through it again, which I will be doing soon in a playthrough series. But I really cannot thank the team at Respawn enough for bringing us this experience, and it will be one that I will always go back to enjoy from time to time. That's going to be it though guys. Thank you all very much for watching, and may the force be with you always.